They come down here to the bloodstream or to a capillary, and then from the capillary they leave through the blood supply, and then they will come down here to a target organ, and then I want you to name the three. The posterior will come down here, and it will go to the kidneys, it will go to the uterus, and it will go to the breast or to mammary glands, whichever you want to say in that case. So that's basically what's taking place here. That there's two hormones, I want you to say two. That there'll be two hormones produced, and one of those hormones will go to the kidneys, the other hormone will go to the uterus and to the mammary glands. Okay? And that's what you need to know about the posterior. Does that make sense? And do you understand the concept of how that works? Okay? This can do nothing. The anterior pituitary, the posterior pituitary, well, the pituitary gland can do nothing without the hypothalamus helping it. It just can't set up like us. We talked about the thymus gland. The thymus gland can do certain things on its own. It doesn't have to go through the hypothalamus. Okay, does that make sense? We're all together on that one? Okay, nobody's in the nothing box? We're all there? All right, so let's move along. Go to your next page.
So that will be on the test.
That will be on the test. Yeah, this part will be on the test. Okay, turn to your next page. What number is that, Fran?
141.
Okay, now this is the posterior. Now it's just a little bit different than the anterior.
This is the anterior.
Excuse me, this is the anterior, and it's a little bit different than the posterior. This is the same. It gets the stimulus. You've got your nerves coming down here. You got the nerves coming down to a bloodstream. This is called a portal system right here. What's the word portal? Have you heard that word before? Okay, what does a port mean? What's a port? It's a place where what takes place?
In and out.
Okay, it's a place where ships come in and so forth, yeah. And that's called a port, so this is called the portal system. Right here, the hormones are created here, come down through the blood. Now, do you notice this has all these cells in it here? Everybody see that? Okay, this one over here didn't, this one does. Each of these cells produces a hormone, okay? And so, each of these cells over here produces hormone. All of these hormones along here, that you see, they're produced by these cells. And what happens here is hormone number 1, right here, will be released. It will come down here, go through the portal system, come down here, come out of the bloodstream, come out through the capillary system, and it may be going over to this one right here, number 4, right there. And this may be number 4. This may be number 5, number 6, number 7, number 8, and number 9, okay? And it will go over to 4, and then 4 will release a hormone here, and it will come down here, and it will come over to 4 here, and it will stimulate the thyroid, which is going to release what?
Thyroxine.
Okay, thyroxine. Okay, that's what we do. So it'll go down here to the thyroid, but you don't need to know the name. Just know that it comes down here to the thyroid and causes the thyroid to act. Okay, this again is called the target organ down here. Okay, and then maybe over here we've got number 5 being produced there. Comes down to the same thing. 5 comes out, comes down here, and it affects the gonads. Or the ovaries, in either case here, causes the same thing to take place there. Then we've got number 6 coming over to here, and this produces 6. It comes out of here, it comes over here, and so forth. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
So you got 2 hormones involved in the anterior. You've got the hormone up here. These hormones up here, notice what they're called. They're called releasing and release inhibiting hormones. So they'll come down here to tell either something to stop working or tell it to work, but the main hormone is created down here. It comes down here. So right here where we got called thyroid stimulating hormone, TSH, that's created or produced here. It's not produced up here. This just comes down and releases it to come down to go to the thyroid. Question?
Okay, so the other, okay, so your anterior or posterior, that one releases two as well.
No,
Yes.
it only releases one.
Okay, so why did we put two hormones produce one?
Okay, that one hormone
Sorry.
is going to two places.
Okay. so
Okay, and the other hormone's only going to one
You
place.
just said two hormones produce, one goes to the kidneys and one goes to the
Okay,
uterus or breast.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, okay, that was two hormones. What I'm saying is in order for this to be activated, it has to go through two different hormones.
Okay, so two different stages.
Yeah. On the posterior, one hormone goes all the way through.
Okay, that's confusing.
Okay, listen to it again. Let's go back a page and you'll see.
Well, I just wrote down what you said.
Yeah, I said, okay, I know what you're getting at and I'll clear that up. Because you're right in what you're saying, I'll clear that up for you. Okay, the posterior, now where did I put that? That was 140. 141, okay. Okay, this one right here, you'll produce a hormone right here.
Mhm.
That hormone will come all the way down here like this. It will come through the bloodstream, it'll follow the bloodstream, and it's gonna come over to here. So it's the same hormone all the way through. Does that make sense? Where I
So
put
then it's only one hormone.
just one hormone. Where I put the two in is I said, okay, there's another hormone produced over here. And that hormone will come all the way down here, come through here, and then it will go to this one and to this one.
So two separate
So that's the
hormones
two separate
made in
hormones.
two separate places.
Yes, okay. So it's not, so in order to activate any one of these threes, how many hormones does it take?
Two.
Okay, in order to activate this one, how many hormones did it take?
One.
How many to activate this one?
One.
And how many to activate this one?
One.
The only thing is that
But the hormones,
ADH is the hormone that activated this one. Oxytocin is the hormone that
okay,
activated these two
so it's two different hormones in two different places.
places. And they're being produced by two different nerve cells. Okay, does that make sense? And that's where the two came in. Okay, now does anybody have any question on that one? So the hormone that starts up here ends up down here. Okay? The hormone that's produced up here will end up down here. On the other one, the hormone that's produced up here will come to here, and then a second hormone will go down to their targets. Okay, now let's go to the posterior, you see. Good question, though. I'm glad you brought that up, because make that clear. Okay. Now, in this case, here, what we've got taking place on this one is that we'll have a hormone produced right up here. It will come down through here, through the bloodstream. It'll come down to these cells right here, and it will tell that cell to release its hormone here, and then that hormone will come down to here. So this, in order for this to be activated, how many hormones did it take? Two. It took one up here, and then it took another one down here. Does that make sense to you?
So the one that.
What are the names?
And I'm not gonna have you worry about the names, because if you have to start learning all of this stuff, I want you to get the concept for this
Just
class.
the two hormones.
Just two hormones. One hormone's created up here. This hormone, by the way, now watch this, because this might help you. This hormone here is either a releasing hormone or it's a release inhibiting hormone. It'll either come down here and tell this cell, put out another hormone, or it'll come down here and say, don't put out any more. Okay? That's what it does. This hormone here, depending on which one gets released up there, is either gonna put out more or it's gonna stop. Okay? Does that make sense? Y'all follow that? Okay, good. And then, these are the different ones it goes to. And I want you to be able to write those 6 down to say, okay, the anterior goes to the thyroid, it goes to the gonadal hormones, it goes to the adrenal gland, it goes to the breast, it goes to the bones and muscle, and it goes to the skin. So that's where they go. You don't have to say what they do from there, I just want you to learn those 6. Okay?
Do we have to draw a picture of it, or can we just write it?
You can do it either way. I don't care, because I can read it if you want. Personally, I think it's easier to write it, because I can look at it, but if you want to, or to draw it, but if you'd rather write it, that's okay. As long as you learn it, I don't care which way you do it. Yeah.
Is this another picture where they're just guessing what it looks like?
This is pretty accurate.
Okay.
Okay, because this is really, the hormones we can't see, but everything else here we can see. Okay? So we can see even see the nerve coming through here, we can see the blood supply. But, and we know that that's what these look like. So this is actually a pretty accurate picture on that. Okay, any questions on that? Anybody? Nikki? Got anything on that?
No.
Okay, anybody else? All right. Go to your next, except I think I'm gonna take, yep, okay, now I want to take a break. Let's see if there's one, there might have been one more here, let's see, I don't think so. Nope, okay, let's take a break, we'll see you in 11 minutes, we'll see you about 7 minutes after 5, okay? Down here to the thyroid, and then the thyroid is going to put out a hormone, but at the same time, the thyroid puts out a hormone to cause certain reactions, but it also comes back in this direction because there's probably an autoreceptor right there, and it comes back here where there's an autoreceptor right there, and it tells the hypothalamus to stop, and it tells the anterior pituitary to stop, just like the nerve did. Does it make sense? Same thing, except it just travels in a little different area. And this is all traveling through the bloodstream. So this
So
is what's
that's
going
how
on.
hormones travel?
So that's how they stop, yeah. So the hormone will be up here. It'll come down to here, into the bloodstream. It'll go to these cells here. Say, I want you to produce TSH for me. TSH is produced right there, comes on down here, and it goes to a target gland or organ. And it tells the target, put out your hormone. Now thyroxine, what does thyroxine do? Anybody? Sheena?
A lot.
Do you know what are some of the things it does? You know more about it than anybody else than any of the rest of us.
Thyroxine regulates your metabolism
Okay,
and your temperature,
okay,
like a lot.
okay, so it's doing things like that, but then also part of it, after it gets it after it puts out as much as it wants, it gets things where it wants, then some of the thyroxine will come back around here, just like the neurotransmitter did. It'll go to this autoreceptor and say cut down. It'll go up to this one and it'll say cut down. Stop producing, and that's the effect. Now, this is why all this is really important to you. If you come in here and you have a problem in your thyroid, and so instead of having thyroxine, what do you take?
Synthroid.
How do you spell it?
SYNTHROID. And it's
Okay,
like
that's interesting. Syn means what usually?
Synthetic.
Artificial or synthetic, okay? So it's a synthetic thyroid hormone is what it is, or synthetic thyroid medication.
That's why they're transitioning to the compound of THC4 because it's more like what your body produces.
Okay.
They're finding that that doesn't work so well.
Okay, but what this will do is this will try to take the place of thyroxine, and one of the things this will do is it'll come back here and tell this to stop functioning, and it'll come back here and tell this to stop functioning, and then if you're on this too long or too much of it, what's gonna happen to these two right here? Okay, if you don't use it, what? You'll lose it. And so these are not gonna be as effective, okay? And that's why they worry about that, and then after a while, if this isn't working and these aren't working, then you've got a real problem. That's why they try to keep medications down, and they try to keep them as short as they can. My father-in-law, when he was in his 90s, one day we looked down, or we went and looked at his medications, and he was taking 13 different medications during the day. And he had some of those that he had been on for almost 12 years. They had given him to him 12 years, and it was a refillable. He kept taking them and taking them and taking them. And then he had another one that he was taking to counter that one. And he had another one that he was taking to counter that one, that was countering that one. And it can really become a real mess. It can become a mess. And all of these are telling the pituitary and the hypothalamus to quit producing what they're producing naturally. So you've got to really work, you've got to really have a balance
They
there.
have you go in every 3 months
Okay.
and get your blood drawn to
Okay.
check the levels and make sure they're okay.
Okay, and so, anyway, but this is an issue that takes place. And then the other thing that happens sometimes is you keep taking this, what happens to the potency of that after a while? Just like drinking alcohol, what happens?
You build a tolerance.
It takes, you build up a tolerance, so you can take more of it, so you take more of it, and it's gonna come back here, it's gonna stop these. So that's called the negative feedback, that's what's taking place here. And also you've got it on this side, you put out so much of the thyroid stimulating hormone here, and then when it's stimulated to the point it has, then some of it will come back and travel up here and tell this to cut itself off, to quit releasing that up there. You understand releasing and inhibiting hormones? Some of these will come down here and tell it to release a hormone. Some will tell it to come down here to cause something to be stimulated. Others will come down here, an inhibitor will set it out to tell it to quit stimulating. So that's what that's all about. Okay, does that make sense to you? We're all okay with that? Okay, let's go to the next one. What's that hair one doing in here? What are we at now?
23.
Okay. Now, we read you that thing a little while ago that says the thyroid is in charge of doing two things. What were they? Metabolism and growth, okay? Or the thyroid. And the parathyroid was in charge of what?
Calcium.
Calcium. And it says the thyroid does metabolism and growth, but does not affect the parathyroid. The parathyroid does calcium, but does not affect the thyroid, and that's not really true. I don't know why they even put that in there. It's really not true, because sometimes the thyroid puts out calcitonin, and that will have a control on calcium over here. Okay, and so basically what's that saying is that if you've got a high blood calcium, there's too much calcium in your blood, sometimes the thyroid will put out calcitonin, and that will build up the bone by osteoblast, which means it'll take the calcium out of the blood, put it into the bone, right? Did y'all follow that? I think I lost a couple. Let's do it again. Okay, so right up here, what it's saying is in the bloodstream is here, and we've got way too much calcium in there. So if we're gonna get rid of the calcium, where are we gonna send it? We get rid of this calcium here, where are we gonna send it?
The bone.
It's gonna be osteoblast, gonna put it into the bone.
Okay, so we're gonna send it over here. We wanna send all of this over here to the bone. So, the thyroid down here will put out calcitonin, and calcitonin will build up a bone by osteoblast. So it will build up the bone and take it out of here, put it in the bone to build it up. So the bone gets built up, the calcium in the blood drops down, and we go back to normal over here. Does that make sense? Does that one follow through? Okay. Now, let me explain something at this point. Don't be overwhelmed. What I expect from you, and I think what most teachers expect from you, is at this point, we don't want you to say, okay, will you come back, Nikki, and explain this and how it works and everything. I don't expect you to do that. I expect you to be able to follow what I'm saying, and you say, okay, I understand where you're at. Instead of saying, holy crap, I have no idea what he's even talking about. Does that make sense? So if you don't know what we're talking about, raise your hand. Like Medi did, I appreciate that when he says, hold it. You had two hormones, now you're saying there's only one. I don't get it. Okay, because I didn't expect her to come up and draw it, But as I was explaining it, it wasn't clear, and that's what I want you to do, okay? So can you understand this? High calcium blood, a lot of calcium in your blood, thyroid kicks out calcitonin. Calcitonin takes the calcium in your blood, puts it into the bone. Therefore, you're gonna have a buildup of bone, and then it did it by using osteoblasts. We already talked about that, okay? And then that brought it back down to normal. Over here on this side, the thing that's happening is now you got low calcium, so it goes to the parathyroid. Parathyroid hormone takes calcium out of the bone, puts it back into the blood, and that goes back to normal. So that's how they work back and forth. Now, let me explain this to you. This one here does both, okay? This one will do both, okay? But this one over here is a counter to this one. You've got all kinds, this is the major one. This is the one you see most of the time. But this one does have the ability to counter this one over here if it has to, okay? I don't know why they use this example that way, but that's what's going on. Okay, turn to your next page. Okay, now you're gonna get really bored here for a minute, and I just bear with it, because if you think it's boring to you, you have no idea what it's doing to me up here. Okay, this is 144. This is just a negative feedback. And they happen to use the parathyroid in this case. All this is saying is that as the parathyroid puts things in the kidney and in the bone and in the gut, at the same time, there's a negative feedback to come back here to tell it to quit doing it again. Does that make sense? That's all that's saying. Okay. Go to your next page. What one are we on now?
49.
49. Okay. And all that one is saying, we'll spend a minute on this one because it's kind of fun. Okay. And all this one is saying is that as the hypothalamus puts out a hormone, goes the anterior pituitary down here, it tells it to put out these two hormones here, to go down into the testicles, to tell it to put out testosterone, and also to put out sperm over here, okay? And then after it puts it out, then there's a negative feedback that comes back this way. Okay, now, let's talk about that for a minute so you can understand it practically. You're with them? What are you laughing at, Maddie? You know where I'm headed, don't
Negative feedback.
you? Know where I'm headed, don't you? This is what happens is when somebody is intimate, and after the man climaxes, he gets relaxed, he just lies there, he's a dud. We all know that is going on. But what's happening physiologically is once the climax takes place, then this comes back and it tells it to cut off the testosterone, and it tells it to cut off everything in the hypothalamus, and that's the negative feedback that's happening. So at the end of a sexual act and the relaxation takes place, that's the negative feedback. That's how, so you can, I like to use that as an example because it's so, what's the word I want to use? Apparent. It's so apparent that that's what's taking place. That's what's happening at that point. And I was involved in and the other thing it doesn't show here is it also goes up and it'll cut off the serotonin. And serotonin has a thing there. And it will also go to a muscle, and it'll tell the epinephrine to stop because there's an increase in epinephrine. What does it increase? Anybody know? It's a vasal what? Dilator. So epinephrine gives you an increase in blood supply, and an erection takes place by an increase in blood supply. And so after this takes place, it'll go back and say, cut off the epinephrine, and so then there'll no longer be an erection will take place. All of these are negative feedbacks that take place at the time. Now, please don't do what I had one student do. She came back and says, oh my heavens, I was with my husband and we got really intimate, and then I started thinking about negative feedback, and I started giggling, and he says, what are you laughing at? And she says, well, I can tell your epinephrine has stopped now, and I can tell your testosterone has stopped. And she went through the physiological, she got such a kick, and she says, it was so easy on my test. This is the one I used for my negative feedback because I knew exactly what was going on. So that's why I use this example. But that is all of that taking place, all that relaxation afterwards and so forth. That's all a negative feedback. And I was involved I wasn't involved in the test, but I was involved in instituting the test at the University of Utah one time, where we had taken some men that had serotonin, and we were injecting serotonin into their bloodstream, and then they had to do there were logical things they had to do. If A plus B equals C, then what does D, or you would say, okay, if you push this button and this button, the door will open. But if you push this button and this button and this button over here, the door will open, but very slowly. And they'll say, okay, open the door fast and tell you what buttons to push. And it has all logical types of explanation. And as they were at a normal base, they could just push it and it would be very logical. As they can increase the serotonin, they begin to lose their logic. They had lost their logic in what they were doing. And and their heart was beating faster and other things were taking place. And then when they cut the serotonin off, then they went back to their logical things again. Okay, and that was the effect that serotonin has. And in a sexual relationship, serotonin plays a huge role, because when all of this is taking place down here, just building up to take place down here, then the serotonin is very, very high. Once this takes place, part of the negative feedback is to stop the serotonin. And so in fact, you actually stop the serotonin, you put out another chemical that will counter the serotonin, and that's where the relaxation, that's where all of that takes place. Okay? What's that?
That explains a lot.
Does that explain a lot? So next time, if you want to see a good negative feedback, that's what you can,
Just start
you know.
playing.
I mean, if you're married, you want more excitement in your marriage, maybe that'll help. I don't know. So anyway, that's what's taking place there. Okay.
When you've really given up.
What's that? What did you say? Somebody had a good one back there.
I said only when you've really given up.
Only when you've really, yeah. There, we're gonna do something exciting tonight. What's that? I'm gonna check your negative feedback system if you don't mind. Okay. So anyway, that takes place. Another one that takes place, and I don't wanna, FISA, I don't want this to offend anybody from Africa, but I learned this in Africa, okay? And what happens is I was in Sudan, and in order for a man to release his sperm, his testicles have to be at a certain temperature. I don't know if you knew that or not. And so the testicles will go up inside the body to be at a certain temperature before the sperm can be released. And so in a little city called Yei, or New London, do you ever call that New London? You know where Yei is? Okay, it's right down by Kenya. It's down by Juba in Kenya. And they were telling me there that because there are extremely poor people in these villages and they try to keep their birth control down, that they don't have birth control pills and they don't have condoms and they don't have things like that. So what they do is this. Does anybody know what that means? Okay, what they do is they will go above the testicles and they will put their fingers together, and that will keep the testicles down below the body, and it'll keep them cool. And as long as they stay cool, they can't release the sperm. So when all of this action takes place here, there's another hormone that will go over that will bring the testicles up into the body for procreation. That's the idea. And so if they hold the testicles down like that, then the man can continue, but he can't release, and it's a form of birth control. So that's how they would do it. They used to do this in Europe years and years ago. And we mentioned that in the other class, didn't we? Okay, and what they would do, what's that? At least I have your attention.
Sounds like
Okay.
a lot of work. No, okay, this is a stupid.
Well, no, I gotta finish. Oh, we're right in the middle of this act. I can't stop now. Okay, so what, my heavens, what do you expect of me? Okay, so what happened is that these German soldiers, or these American soldiers would go into the German women, and they would say, and they hated the soldiers, and they would say, this happened both in Germany and in France, and they would say, okay, I will have sex with you, but I don't want to have a child. And the only way we can stop from having a child is I need to form a circle so your testicles won't go up into your body. And the guy would agree to it. And then in the middle of the act, they would reach down into wherever, mat or someplace, they'd pull out a knife and then they'd slice that And then the soldier would either bleed to death, or he would be crippled, or so forth. And that was done all the time during World War I and World War II. But that was a form of doing that, so it was a setup on it. So I know that's a tough story, but that's a true story. That's what's happening. Yeah, he had a negative feedback too at that point.
I would say so.
Okay. All right. You had a
Never mind,
question?
I wanna ask.
No, go ahead. You're afraid the answer might not be what you want to hear?
No.
No, go ahead and ask.
An embarrassing question.
No.
They have to do that during the whole act? It's like,
Yes. Okay, that's all right. Yes, they do, because, no, that's a good question.
that's too much
Yeah,
work.
yes.
Yeah, that's too much work.
Yes, they
That's
do,
the
because
thing,
a
I'm like,
hormone
oh
is
my
being,
God.
okay, a hormone is being released. Okay, you're not listening to the answer though. You're still visualizing, okay. A hormone is being released, that's
But it's
going to a
during the whole
muscle
time.
to tell the testicles to come up into the body to warm up. And and if you let go of that, bam, they're gonna go up and he's gonna
Okay.
ejaculate and you're gonna get sperm. So yeah, it has to be done that way.
I just.
And then there are some people that, oh, I know there's other things that happen, there's also a little cord thing they had where they could tie the cord around.
That's
person
like
and stuff like that.
castration, that's.
It is very close to it, yes. Okay. But that's what's taking place. Well, we kind of got off the subject a little bit, but not really, because these are the negative feedbacks that are taking place. So I want you to pick any one you want on a negative feedback and then tell me how that works, okay? All right, turn to the next one. This is why I hold this one till the last day and the last hour. This is a good time. Have we talked in here about Renin? I don't think we have we? Okay, so skip that one. Okay, that one won't make sense to you. Okay, and then this is the last one here, and again, it's exactly the same thing again. The hypothalamus is releasing a hormone, coming down here to the cell. What's the cell gonna do?
It's gonna tell something to release something.
To release a second hormone. The hormone's gonna come down to here. It's gonna have an effect to release estrogen and progesterone here, and then there's gonna be a negative feedback coming back to tell them to stop their system. So, okay. Yes, is that it now? Okay, on the last page, this is real simple. We never did find my last page this morning either. So let me borrow yours for just a second, because you already know this. Okay, so basically what this is saying, this is just a summary of what we've talked about. And it says the pituitary controls growth, the thyroid gland, the amount of urine, regulates the sex hormones, all kinds of things the pituitary does, okay? And I want you to know those 9 that we talked about today. Okay, the thyroid controls the amount of oxygen taken in by the cells. So that is your metabolism there, okay? So it controls metabolism and growth. Okay, the parathyroid controls the amount of calcium in the blood and the bone, so you should understand that. The adrenal glands, just what this says, it helps in times of emergency. That's when it releases epinephrine. Okay, so that's what's going on there. The pancreas, we didn't talk about the pancreas. It's also considered a endocrine gland. Endocrine means that an endocrine gland means that it releases something. Endo means what? Inside the body, and if it's a gland that releases outside the body, it's not an endocrine gland. Endocrine glands only release inside the body. Okay, and then the ovaries, it tells what they do. Testicles, it tells what they do. But what the pancreas does is you have sugars in your system. Can you name some of them? Okay, glucose is one. Sucrose is one. Fructose is one. Lactose is one, maltose is another one. All these OSCs, these are all different kinds of sugars, and they're poison to your body. They are not good for your body at all. They can kill you. But the pancreas puts out insulin, and insulin then joins those sugars and creates what's called glycogen. And now glycogen, and remember we talked about diffusion, okay? You didn't mention, okay. Glycogen, when the two of them are together, that makes it so they can go through the membrane, go into the cell, and they will work. Sugar can't go in by itself. and neither can insulin, okay? What's the difference in type 1, type 2? Yep,
Type 2 is you get that in later stage of life, and that's based on diet. And type 1 is that your body doesn't produce insulin at all.
okay. Okay, type 1 is that the pancreas doesn't put out insulin. Okay, type 2 is that the body doesn't put out enough insulin. It puts out insulin. The main problem is it doesn't put out enough insulin, but if you'll diet, it'll put out enough insulin to satisfy that. If you overeat, then, and you got a weight problem, then you've got type 2 diabetes. And it's just as dangerous as type 1. But type 1 doesn't put out insulin, type 2 doesn't put out enough insulin for that particular person. And it has to do with what their situation is, okay? All right, I think, is that the last, I think that's it. And so we're gonna call it quits at this point.
Do you want to say like now that we've gone over everything, what exact besides those two on the test?
Okay.
So the final.
Basically, okay. This is the one I want you to know absolutely most. This is the most important one of all, because this is gonna come up over and over again. Hormones don't come up that much, okay? It's on the alveoli, so that's where I want you to concentrate on. On these right here, what I want you to do is you'll just draw your hypothalamus. You'll have a nerve coming down here. This is your cell body. This is your nerve coming down here. You'll have a hormone in it. You'll have a bloodstream here. It'll go into the hormone. And on the posterior part of the pituitary, it'll go to 3 places. That's all I want you to do, and then name these 3. Like that.
So the target organs, right?
And these are your these are called target organs. Okay, on the anterior part, you'll have a hormone developed here. It will come down here like this. It will release down into here, but then it will tell a cell, right here, it'll go onto that cell, and it'll tell that cell to release its hormone. That hormone will go over the bloodstream, and it will go to like 6 different places. And then I want you to name those like that. You don't have to tell what they do, just that you'll know a little bit about what the pituitary gland does, okay? And then I want you to do 1 negative feedback. Okay, and this is important here, that you understand the negative feedback, because that has a lot to do with your pharmacology and your medications.
Okay, so there's 4 things total.
So,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
okay,
What's the 5th one?
well, this is 1.
Anterior,
Okay,
posterior.
The
that's good
digestive
one.
system.
Okay, this is 1. What do we got for 2?
The food through the body.
The what?
Food through the body.
The body.
Okay, your digestive, oh, here it is. No, is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's number 2. Right there.
Then the pit.
Alveoli.
And this would be
Number 3.
number 3.
Oh, okay. That's all.
So all that.
Yeah.
But
and
that'll
you
go
can-
on.
That'll go on
the
one
half,
page.
right?
Oh, okay.
That's not, this isn't gonna take a lot, okay? And you could actually end up, but this is the one I really want you to make sure you got down pat,
Okay.
is the alveoli. That's the big one, because it's gonna come back over and over again, okay?
Are you extra nice on grading the final? Because you feel sorry for us?
Yeah, I do feel sorry for you, to be honest with you. I don't know if I mentioned to you the other night about my car. Well, my car wouldn't start. Yeah, the other night I got ready to leave. I was uptown and my car didn't start, so I got on, oh, sit down, we're not done yet. Okay, my car didn't, she asked me a question, so I got to answer it. My car didn't start, so I went to get on tracks. And I got on tracks and I got down to get off, and then I went over to get on the bus. And they said, well, we don't know if there's another bus coming now or not. So I waited for about a half hour. Didn't have a coat on, it's freezing my tail off. I got on, finally a bus came, and it took me, but it's several blocks from my house. So then I walked and it started to rain. I was sopping wet. And so then I went to get in my house and I realized they didn't have my keys. I left my keys back there. So I crawled up a tree and got on the roof and was trying to get in the door, and I started to slide on the roof. And I finally got inside, and you know what I said to myself? Nah, this reminds me of being a student. Isn't that what it's like? I mean, it really is. I had a student's night. So yeah, I do feel sorry for you. I do worry about you. All right. You have a great one now, and we will see you in a week.